everybody, Lord Tremendous here. Got another battle report here for you. A little bit of a change up. I had an itch I had to scratch. I played this guy called Super Bob, both in S-Bot 2 and in the Owl GT, and both times he was playing Beastmen. And it really caught my attention. There was an item, the Hag Tree Fetish, that when I was looking at it, I love magic missiles, and the idea of being able to reroll wounds for magic missiles really appealed to me. I liked how many big monsters the Beastmen can take, and I've been toying with lists, I've been making stuff. Their leadership really did prevent me from giving them a solid try. And after the Owl GT, I was looking to change it up a little bit. I've been making lists with a bunch of different armies, and I needed to try it. So I have a Beastman list. That's a beautiful thing about Warhol. You can play pretty much whatever you want, and you don't have to buy the models. It's kind of nice. And then, if you like it, you can make them in real world and play it in the real world. So I'm giving it a shot. It's monster-heavy magic-ish type of list, and I'm excited to give it a shot, and I'm playing my buddies Bretonnians. So what better army to do an experiment against than one of the best ones in the game, Bretonnians. So sit back, relax, and get ready to see the carnage. Also, thematically, it's kind of fitting. Here's my list, and this is just the first try, so I'm sure it'll change a lot right after this game. I've got my Doombull as my general at 355 points. He's got an Enchanted Shield, Ogre Blade, the Blackened Plate, and a Crown of Horns. Ogre Blade is a no-duh. The Blackened Plate with the Enchanted Shield gives him a 3-up armor, 6-up ward, and a 3-up ward against flaming in the super off chance I run into anything that's on fire. But with the Crown of Horns, if I do lose combat, I'm going to be stubborn, so that gives me a chance. So if you do get into combat with my Minotaur unit with the Doombull, it's probably a mistake. There's really nothing that could run in there short of another Lord level character that's going to be able to really stand up to him. I'm thinking it's a solid kit. We'll see. And then I have my Great Bray Shaman, who I have dubbed Lord Tremendous, at 425 points. He's on a Razor Gore Chariot, and I gave him the Razor Gore Chariot so he has a 5-up toughness instead of a 4-up in the Tuskor Chariot. He's a level 4 wizard with elementalism. He's got the Hag Tree Fetish, was what really got me into thinking that Beastman was the way to go for me, because I love magic missiles. So the Hag Tree Fetish lets me re-roll wounds for the any magic missile I fire off. So he's got Vile Tide, which is the Beastman magic missile. It's a signature spell for Beastman. 5d6 strength 1 hits, no armor save. That's 6s to win. I'm all about that. And potentially 30 hits if I max out 5d6, which we all know probably isn't going to happen very often, if at all. But even 15, half of that, is an insane amount of hits. Needing 6s to wound, re-rolling any failed wounds, no armor save. That ends Chosen. That ends Grail Knights. That ends Bretonnians. That ends everything. I love the idea. On paper, it sounds great. Ruby Ring of Ruin for the same reason, and a Talisman of Protection so that he's got a 4-up armor, 5-up ward. I'm thinking it's a pretty solid kit. In core, I've got 516 points, starting with the mandatory choice, like all armies that haven't gotten the book yet, with 6 Gores. I gave them additional hand weapons and ambushing. I figure I'm not going to use them for anything. I don't want a big Death Star brick of them, so I'm going to just do... I had some extra points. I was just going to do 5 with additional hand weapons and ambushing. I had enough points left over when I was done to do 6. They're going to run behind and hopefully run into something and just beat the hell out of it. And if not, is what it is. I've got 2 Razor Gores because I love these guys. Strength 5, Toughness 5, D3 impact hits with 3 wounds. Razor Gores are insane. I would have a third, I just ran out of points. And then I've got a big-ass brick of 6 Minotaurs because I like Minotaurs. Full command with the unit champion has a great weapon. I've got 5 shields for the rest of the unit, and then I've got the armor meteoric iron on the unit champion, hence the great weapon, and the banner of outrage, so that when they get into combat, they definitely pass their primal fury roll. In special, I've got 9 Harpies starting me off because I love the Harpies. If you watch my game against Super Bob, you know what the Harpies did. You know that they won, they really blocked the game, so that was fun. I took Harpies. Super Bob, that's because of you. And then I have a Gorgon, because this thing is awesome. That's really the second draw for the Beastmen for me. I can take so many monsters, and I love monsters. So the Gorgon was a no duh, have to take it. And it can be a special choice because the Doombull's my general. In rare, I have a gigantic spawn of chaos with it's a spawn of corn because I love this gigantic spawn of chaos, and spawn of corn impact hits killing blow. It is more of a glass cannon. I just love toughness 6 glass cannons. And I took a jabber slice because I wanted to try him out. I love the maddening aura idea. If I remember to use it, he's got a little shooty attack. Even if he marches, he flies. He's, strength 5, toughness 5, 5 wounds. He's a pretty badass monster for under 200 points. I'm excited to try out this list. Here's my opponent's list, and it's a Bretonnian army against my buddy Rathgar. And yes, as we all know, Bretonnians are a son of a gun, so this should be a really, really good test of whether or not the Beastmen are for me or not. We will see. Starting off with his characters, though, he's got his Duke at 402 points. He's his General on a Royal Pegasus. He's got a shield, heavy armor, the Ogre Blade, Serene's Locket, and the Gauntlet of the Duel. And, of course, he's got the Virtue of Knightly Temper for those extra attacks and hatred. He is as dangerous as he is pompous. Then he's got his Baron on a Bretonnian Warhorse. He's got a shield and a lance, the Gilded Cuirass, and the Virtue of Heroism. Next up is his Prophetess on a Bretonnian Warhorse, who's a level 4 wizard with battle magic. She's got a lore familiar, and I believe that's it. And then he's got the Demigod, Sergeant at Arms, with a halberd, light armor, and the armor of meteoric iron. So I guess he doesn't have light armor, just the armor of meteoric iron, which is better. In core, he's got a Death Star of 10 mounted knights of the realm with full command, lances, shields, heavy armor, and a war banner. Then he's got another, mini Death Star of 30 men-at-arms with full command and a Grail Monk. They've also got polearm shields and light armor. And then he's got 2 units of 10 peasant bowmen with musicians and defensive stakes. In special, he's got the obligatory 5x Pegasus Knights. It's a great unit, it really is. With full command, lances, shields, heavy armor, and the errantry banner. And then in rare, finishing him off is 5 Grail Knights with lances, shields, and heavy armor. My spells for this one were Vile Tide, Summon Elemental Spirit, Wind Blast, and Travel Mystical Pathways. Trying a little elementalism, and as you see, I've got the 2, magic missiles, which I'm really excited about, and the Ruby Ring of Ruin. Come on, Hag Tree Fetish. Be everything I want you to be. My opponent ended up with the Lady's Gift, Pillar of Flame, Fireball, and Hammerhand, I believe. And here's deployment. So I pretty much just lined up against what I wanted to throw stuff into. There was no real rhyme or reason, because this is my first game ever playing Beastmen. I'm not used to seeing them on this side of the field. On my left there, I've got my 2 units of Razor Gores, followed by the Gorgon, followed by the Jabber Slice, my huge brick of Minotaurs with my Doom Bull installed. Right next to them, outside of the forest, is the Great Bray Shaman, Lord Tremendous himself. And then next to him is the best monster in the game, the gigantic spawn of Corn. Then, of course, on our right flank, my opponent's left, I've got my big old unit of Harpies. I'm excited about the Harpies, I really am. And then for my opponent, starting on our left, his right, he's got his Duke on the Royal Pegasus. He's got his massive Death Star of mounted Knights of the Realm with a Prophetess and a Baron installed. Next to them is just a unit of Peasant Bowmen. On the hill is the Men-at-Arms with the Sergeant at Demigod Arms. Next to them is another unit of Peasant Bowmen, the 5-man brick of Pegasus Knights, I believe. And then next to them are some Grail Knights. So this is going to be a real solid battle. Honestly, the whole tactic that I had was march across and let's see what these units can do. I wasn't sure how well I was going to perform or what anything was going to do, but I was excited to find out. And the first thing that happens of note is I break tradition and get to go first. I know it's because the Bretonnians took a knee and prayed, but still, I thought it was cool. I never get to go first. So I win. I move forward. Not close enough that he could charge me because I'm not an idiot, but close enough to start putting a little bit of pressure on my opponent and to let him know that the beasts are here and they mean business. The one thing that I did that was kind of bait was my Harpies move forward to pull his Pegasus Knights out. I wanted to just kind of put him out of position, especially considering where they were at behind the house. I thought if he hit them on turn one, sure, he'd beat them and then have to redirect in turn two. Wouldn't be able to do anything till turn three, which kind of puts the Pegasus Knights out of position for half the game. That was my mentality. For 99 points, that's a good deal all day. If he chooses to ignore the Harpies, I'm going to go into his Peasant Archers and decimate them as quick as I can. Maybe even the Men at Arms. I hadn't decided yet. The Harpies are actually pretty good in combat. So I was giving him a choice. Whether or not it was a good choice, well, we were going to find out. Other than that, like I said, everything else just kind of moves forward. That's it for movement. In his debut magic phase, the only thing in range is the Ruby Ring of Ruin, which goes off. I'm far enough away from his prophetess that he can't really stop it. He does try to fade it, doesn't work. Almost, though. And yeah, I smoke an entire Pegasus Knight with the Ruby Ring of Ruin because with the Hag Tree fetish or whatever, I was able to do more wounds than I should have. I was very excited that it worked. Yeah, I know. It's one Pegasus Knight, but it's a dead Pegasus Knight. That's awesome. Nothing else happens in my turn, so here's bottom of turn one after movement. And my opponent was smart. He took the bait. His Pegasus Knights went into my Harpies, who stood and took it. And nothing else really moves. His big old Death Guard of Mounted Knights of the Realm move up just a little bit. And his Baron, or I'm sorry, his Duke on a Royal Pegasus with the Ogre Blade comes flying over to eyeball all my monsters on my left flank there. I figured that was going to happen. I really didn't have an answer for it. I figured he was going to go in there, and if the monsters got to attack back, great. But if not, really, what else could I do? I didn't really have an option, so I was going to try to get him the hell out of there. You'll see how that goes in just a minute. Other than that, yeah, he gets the lady's gift off on the Mounted Knights of the Realm. I really don't care about that. They're not going to see combat. I know it's a rip. I don't care at the moment. And yeah, that's. Oh yeah, his Men at Arms I think back up a little bit, as well as the Peasant Bowman on the left flank there. That's really it for movement. Nothing else happens, so we go straight into combat. And yeah, lo and behold, I think he kills 4 of my Harpies. The one that got to attack back, because there are 5 up there, I think just kind of scratched up his armor a little bit, wasn't able to get anything through. That's fine. That was the plan. In the end, he does 4 wounds and has a banner. I do nothing. He wins by 5. And my Harpies actually got away. They ended up getting away by a few inches. They did pursue, they didn't catch them, and this worked out better than I had planned. The Bretonnian Pegasus Knights are actually going to be out of range or out of the game for a majority of it now, and that's huge. Best use of chaff I think I've ever had. This brings us to top of turn 2, and here it is after movement. Yep, there are a couple of vortexes on the field. Mine is in the top right. His is on the center there. Neither of them do anything this round. And I kind of go all out. My Jabberslythe, he flies forward to challenge the Men-at-Arms, because why not? I screw up here. I move my Minotaurs up, and I move my Doom Bull over, thinking, okay, I'm going to try to bait out his, what's it called? His Duke on the Peg Knight into the flank of my Minotaurs, figuring if he hits them, the Doom Bull can challenge and we're good to go. What I forgot, because I haven't played Bretonnians in a while, is lance formation does not draw a line of sight from the front model. It's from the center of the lance. So yes, the lance can absolutely see the flank of my Minotaurs. I felt like an idiot. I didn't realize it until next turn when he charges, but spoilers. Anyway, the Gorgon, I'm trying to fake like I don't see the opportunity for the Minotaurs. So the Gorgon kind of looks over at his Duke on a Peg Knight. Not super concerned. Yes, the huge brick of Knights of the Realm are in range of the Gorgon, but I figure if they charge him, they charge him. There's nothing I can do about it. I'd rather them charge him than, the Minotaurs or anything like that. Not that I realized at this point that he could actually see them. On the right there, the Harpies rallied. I was shocked too. I think I rolled Snake Eyes to rally him too. So the Harpies are awesome. The Minotaurs do move up though to put some pressure on the Bretonnians. On the right side there, I do move my Great Shaman into the terrain. I pass my dangerous terrain check, but I want to get my spells off on the Grail Knights. I figure if he does charge me there, so be it. And then my spawn moves up just a little bit to countercharge the Grail Knights if they go after my Great Brave Shaman next turn. That's really it for movement. In the magic phase, I moved my Brave Shaman up so that I could try to get Vile Tide off and Wind Blast on his Grail Knights. I did not expect to vape the unit. I thought I would just hurt him pretty bad, right? That's what I was hoping for. Vile Tide goes off. The Hag Tree Fetish allows me to do to re-roll wounds, needing sixes because it's only strength one. I don't roll great. I think I had 9 or 10 hits total out of 5d6, so not a great roll for the amount of hits. But I ended up doing like 5 or 6 wounds total thanks to the Hag Tree Fetish. And since it's no armor save, all they have is a 6-up ward. I vape the entire unit of Grail Knights with one spell alone. I was giddy. I did not realize just how powerful re-rolling wounds on magic missiles really is. And for that, I apologize. But this felt good. And just because it's kind of funny, the Pegasus Knights fail their panic check for a unit destroyed within 6 inches. I think it was 4 inches away from them. They failed their panic check, but they're above 50%, so it was just fall back in good order. And I believe the rule says that when you fail a panic check for that, you run away from the closest enemy unit, which was the Harpies. So they just fell back like 6 inches. They could still make that charge. It actually worked out to help them out a little bit. I love that the Pegasus Knights saw that and we're like, ah! Hey, everyone's looking. Everyone's looking. Stop it, guys. Nothing else for my turn, so here's bottom of turn 2, and it gets a little wild. So yeah, here's where I realize that his knights can see my minotaurs, and I feel like an idiot. So what's it called? His Pillar of Flame does bounce through the minotaurs, but doesn't actually wound them. His Duke on a Royal Pegasus and the Knights charge both would have been in the flank of my minotaurs. So they're not frenzied at the moment. They're not immune to psychology. So I fled really well, got away. I did fail my dangerous terrain for running through a couple of dangerous terrain for running through the Pillar of Flame, so my minotaurs took a couple wounds, but nobody died. I do get away. His Royal Pegasus Knight Duke gets across the board anyway. He did try to redirect into my Gorgon, but failed his leadership check, so had to go after him. The Knights, they tried to go after the Gorgon and failed. That's why they ended up right where they're at. In the center there, as you can see, all the peasants charged my Jabberslythe. The men-at-arms and one unit of bowmen made it, so it is what it is. I'm very excited about that combat, though, because I want to see how he does. The Pegasus Knights charge the Harpies again, which, again, isn't a shock at all. And that's pretty much it for movement. Nothing happens in the magic shooting phase, so we go straight into combat, and unfortunately, the Harpies get obliterated this time by the Pegasus Knights. That's okay, though. They did a really good job, and they've kept the Pegasus Knights pretty much out of this game, and that's huge. In combat over here, the Jabberslythe, considering he's surrounded by like 40 people, he does really, really well. He ends up taking a single wound because he's hard to wound for normal infantry. And in return, I think he kills 4 or 5 guys. No, he kills 4, and I've got close orders. So I have a total of 5 combat res, but my opponent wins by 3 because he's got ranks, banner, close order, flank, all that good stuff. I think he's got high ground, all that stuff. But in the end, I mean, he still only wins by 3, and Jabberslythe's leadership's pretty high. Not high enough. He does break. It's not fall back in good order. It's run away! He does, though. I did Swift Stride. He did get away, as you can see, by about an inch. Those bowmen were very close to being heroes. Not the greatest position to ever be in, but the fact that he got away is huge. Both of his units do come after me. I think he tried to restrain with the men-at-arms and failed a leadership check. It's kind of a running theme in this game. He's failing a lot of leaderships. But yeah, he ends up over here. He does reform the men-at-arms, because why not? He does pass the leadership check for that, at least, to face towards where the Minotaurs were and the Great Gray Shaman, all that good stuff. But that's where I end up. So I get away, and honestly, considering what he went up against, the Jabberslythe did really, really well. All right, with that, not the greatest combat showing, but I'll take it. It was an uphill battle for both units. Anyway, here's top of turn 3 after movement, and thank God the Minotaurs rally. They turn around to look at the Royal Pegasus Duke. I know he could eat that unit alive at this point, but whatever. Let's see what happens. The Great Bray Shaman turns around on the chariot, gets out of the terrain. He passes terrain check again, thank God. I'm going to try to nuke the Duke. Hopefully kill him off. But the huge thing that happens this turn is my Gorgon and both of the Razor Gores charge the Knights. The Gorgon causes terror, which forces the terror check. They fail the terror check and then proceed to roll an 11 without Swift Stride off the table. So the Mounted Knights of the Realm, a prophetess, and his Baron are gone. Almost 1,000 points due to bad rolls. I was thrilled. Don't get me wrong. It's not the greatest test for the Beastmen, but it felt pretty good. I won't lie. The Jabberslith rallied as well, turns to face the Bowman, and yeah, kind of a wild turn. The only other thing is my Chaos Spawn. He moves up a little bit closer to the Bowman, and yeah, I could not believe that the Mounted Knight unit, the Death Star break, basically ran off the table. Whew, terror is overpowered. I mean, in fairness, it totally makes sense. The Gorgon is terrifying. If you were going to run from anything, it would definitely be that. But just look at the size of that unit. Oh, man. Sometimes the Dice Gods can't wait to screw me over, and sometimes they can't wait to give me the win. I like it when they give me the win. Don't get me wrong. But just insane that that happened. In combat over here, I really wished the Vile Tide had gone off. I did not cast it. It wasn't that it was stopped. I rolled a 3, needing a 4. So Vile Tide doesn't go off. Wind Blast does, and I'm able to do a wound to him, and I get Fireball off, but I think it just bounces off his armor. Oh, that's not good, because if that thing charges anything, it's dead. And just because it's hilarious, the Jabberslith has his little tongue attack. It's a ranged attack, and he fires off and eats one of the bowmen. Doesn't get a wound back from it, which would have been even better. But the fact that he's just got that little tongue attack and it worked, it tickled me. There's no combat, so here's bottom of turn 3 after movement, and yeah, his Duke under Royal Pegasus charges the rear of the Gorgon. He can get in there no problem, and he does. He makes the charge. I know he's dead. You know he's dead. He's got no real chance against a Duke with plus D3 attacks and hatred, so not the way I want my monsters to go, but the fact that the big unit ran off the table, who am I to complain? Other than that, his Bowman pretty much stands still. His, what's it called? Men at Arms reform to face the Jabberslith because they know it's coming, and the Pegasus stay where they're at behind the house because he's trying to reserve points, and that's really it for movement. We go straight into combat, and it's exactly what you think is going to happen. The Duke has no problem obliterating the Gorgon. It's not even close. What is hilarious, though, is Timber works out for me, and the corpse of the Gorgon actually does another wound to the Duke. Not the way I wanted to wound the Duke, but hey, beggars can't be choosers. At least he knows I was there. With that, here's top of turn 4 after movement. And yeah, the Jabberslith charges the archers who flee. He redirects into the men at arms who stand. He makes it in there. That's going to be fun. My Chaos Spawn almost makes it into the archers. Missed them by actually less than an inch. I had to back up a little bit, but I did not hit them, which was a shame. Actually, the dangerous terrain, the difficult terrain is what stopped it from happening, which is kind of insulting. Kind of insulting is what it is, though. The Minotaurs move up. I'm starting to realize that with this army, they're just not a great choice. They're really far behind. Granted, they did flee, but might not use the Minotaurs after this game. I might try something else. I do move my chariot up a little bit in order to get into range of his, of his Duke. I really need my spells to take him out before he kills everything on the table. But I do have an answer for him with my guy in the chariot, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. Just need Vile Tide, Wind Blast, and Fireball to do what they do. With no caster on the table, I really do have the choice. So as long as the dice roll average, I should be okay. Other than that, my Razor Gorge just kind of move up a little bit to threaten his Duke, try to give him different things to charge at, and that's really it for movement. So magic doesn't go well for me. A Vile Tide fails to go off. I roll a 3 again. What can you do? What can you do? The Dice Gods have been good to me this game, so I'm not going to complain. I was able to get Summon Elemental Spirit off next to the Duke, hoping for the best. And I think Fireball went off, but it bounced off his armor. And I think Wind Blast either didn't go off or it bounced off his armor and ward save. So nothing I can do about that. We go straight into combat, and this time the Jabberslith does really, really well. Looks like 3, 6, 7, 8 guys die, give or take, plus close order. So I have a total of 9 combat res. I think he does a wound to me. It looks like I took another wound. He's got a couple of ranks. He's got a banner and stuff like that. So it's basically 9-5, and I win by 4. the men-at-arms do break, they flee, and they get run down because the Jabberslife don't play that game. I'm really enjoying the monsters. And yes, I have the aura, the maddening aura off so that I don't forget it again, because my last turn, or this turn, I did completely forget about maddening aura. And when I forget about stuff, I don't try to go back, even in friendly games, to redo stuff, because if I'm not punished for failing or forgetting, I'll never remember. So I want to make sure that I remember to do it in the correct order. So that's why that ring is up there now. Won't help me in this next turn, but if he survives another turn, at least I won't forget. So here's bottom of turn 4, and yeah, Duke on a royal peg goes right into the back of the Jabberslife. We all know how that's going to go. And then the Pegasus Knights charge the flank of my Chaos Spawn and make it just far enough that one guy can slam into him, and the rest have to conga line behind him. Not ideal, but it is what it is. His Lord on the Pegasus Knight did try to charge my Great Bray Shaman, who didn't want any of that smoke and fled. Went through the Minotaurs, who passed their panic check, thank God. But yeah, he redirected into Jabberslife then. So it is what it is. The Peasant Bowmen on the left there, I don't think they rally. I think they continue to flee, which is yet another failed leadership check for my opponent. He's really rolling bad on his leadership checks this game. And I think the other Peasant Bowman just kind of turned to face the Chaos Spawn, and that's really it for movement. We go straight to combat, and it's exactly how it should go. His Duke just murders my poor Jabberslife. He deserved better. He did, but the Duke is pretty much kitted out to take out multiple wound monsters and stuff like that, and he's doing exactly what he should be doing, so I can't really complain. I think the Jabberslife has Timber as well, but this time it ends up sloughing off and going a different direction if he has it. I can't remember, but obviously I don't hurt the Duke at all. In this combat, not great, but not terrible. The Spawn and the One Peg Knight exchange wounds, but I've got Wound and Close Order. He's got Flank, Wound, Banner, and I think War Banner or something like that. In any case, he wins by 4, and it doesn't matter. I'm unbreakable, so I just end up giving ground. And here's top of 5. Yes, I failed to get a picture. I have no excuse. Just, it was late. I'm dumb. It is what it is. I apologize. What I can tell you, though, for the top of my turn is the Razor Gore on the left flank there charged the fleeing unit of Peasant Bowmen and caught them right on the hill, which was excellent. The Pegasus Knights did end up pursuing into the flank of my Chaos Spawn. I think my opponent tried to resist. He tried to take a leadership check to restrain, failed, and ended up having to pursue. So that combat continued. In my movement phase, the Minotaurs moved up, and the Great Bray Shaman rallied in order to try to get, and then he moved so that he could get in range and try to get Fireball off on the Duke on the Steed, because I need to deal with that guy as soon as possible. Other than that, though, nothing really to report in movement. In Magic, Lord Tremendous fires this Fireball spell off on the Duke. It's the only thing in range, and it does an incredible amount of wounds. It's only 2d6 strength 4 max save, and it's still got 2 wounds through on him. I was thrilled. One more, and this guy's dead. Don't get me wrong. He's still a face melter, but he's a face melter that will never be pretty again. Oh, so close. I'm loving this Hag Tree fetish. Then we go over here into combat, and we don't exchange wounds this time. This time, my Chaos Spawn just murders the guy. He only had a wound left, so I'll take what I can get. Wound and Close Order to flank, Banner, and I think he has a War Banner or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it is, but basically, he has 3 to my 2. He wins by 1. Oh, that's what it is. I did a wound, and I have Close Order. He has flank and a Banner, and a Musician. So he wins by 1. I'm unbreakable. I give ground 2 inches, but this time, he does restrain and not follow. That brings us to bottom of 5 after movement, and yes, his Duke, even though he's on his last leg, he is a hero through and through, charges into my final monster, and we've seen how this goes. We've seen how this goes. The Pegasus Knights, the 3 remaining Pegasus Knights, charge into the Razor Gore, who's currently dining on Peasant Bowmen, and that's pretty much it for movement. We jump straight into combat, and yeah, the Pegasus Knights have no problem dispatching the Razor Gore, but love those pigs, I really do. In order to ensure no other tomfoolery occurs, my opponent does overrun after killing the Razor Gore, and the Pegasus Knights end up off the table, which is smart. Now I can't, like, fireball them and flee them off the table and get the points. So it's a good play. It's a good play. They'll come back next turn, and more than likely he'll be able to save every point for those guys. To no one's surprise, the Duke is able to obliterate my poor Chaos Spawn, who was doing really, really well. And I think he's got Timber, and I think I do some wounds to him, but he makes all of his saves, so it is what it is. I like to think that the Duke was on fire still because of the previous turn's Fireball spell, and so he overran, trying to hit my Great Bray Shaman, but ended up going into the water instead to put himself out. That's the narration in my head, and that's what I'm choosing to believe. And with that, here's top of turn 6 after movement, and there's not a lot. The Minotaurs turn to look at the Duke, not that they're going to really be able to get into him. The Razor Gore stays where he's at, and my Bray Shaman turns to look at the Duke. This is do or die. He's either going to kill him with his spells or get murdered by him next turn. That's it for movement. And that's exactly what happens. Vile Tide finally goes off. He's not able to Fate Dispel it. And I think 3 or 4 wounds get through total, which is fantastic. The Duke is dead in the lake where Excalibur can be found later on in the narration. All is right with the universe. And then because Lord Tremendous has no chill, he uses the Ruby Ring of Ruin on the Peasant Bowman and kills 7 of them because the Hag Tree Fetish don't quit. Oh my god, I love this. So, believe it or not, though, the Peasant Bowmen do pass their panic check, so good on them. So that brings us to the bottom of turn 6, but the only thing that happens is the Peasant Bowmen go behind the hill, and the Pegasus Knights come back on and stay behind the hill. And there it is. There's the end of the game. It was a pretty solid victory for Lord Tremendous. I ended up getting 1,607 points out of him. He ended up getting 756 points out of me. Definite victory for the Beastmen. And let's face it, it really came down to the fact that his mounted knights terror fled off the table. That was insane. All that being said, I really like the way this army felt. I really like the way it played. The Hag Tree Fetish is too much fun. Too much fun. I know I got really lucky with a bunch of my fleas, with a bunch of my charges. I'm well aware that this army is not optimal. I've got a whole bunch of ideas in order to change it up for my next game. But this was just supposed to be get it out of my system type of stuff. I made a bunch of mistakes, obviously. For example, the ambush team unit at the bottom there, I put them on at the beginning or at the end of turn 6 because they were supposed to come on in turn 5. I forgot all about them. So I'm going to have to try to do something to remember my ambushing units. But what was supposed to be, like I said, what was supposed to be just a test army, I really enjoyed this. I loved having the monsters on the table. It was a lot of fun. I don't know if I'll feel the same way after getting my ass kicked, but at the moment, this was really cool. So I've already kind of started it, but let's go ahead and get into the real recap. So I think it's safe to say that terror is overpowered in this game. When my Gorgon charged that unit of knights with 2 characters in it, they failed their terror check and then fled off the table. That was almost 1,000 points by itself. Almost half the army by itself. That was insane. The Hag Tree Fetish is everything I wanted it to be and more. Rerolling wounds on magic missiles is super fun and crazy effective. I vaped the Grail Knights because of it. I finished off the Duke because of it. If I had gotten Vile Tide off those 2 rounds I tried before, that would have been huge. Yeah, that was what I was hoping it was going to feel like, and oh, I still got the tingles. The Doom Bull and the Minotaurs were lackluster. I know it was only 1 game. I know that they're going to be like that for the most part. My problem with infantry is my problem with probably everybody's infantry. You're just not going to see the combats you want in this game the way infantry are right now. They need something to make them, I don't know, competitive. I don't know, something. But yeah, I think it might be a waste of points. I might take them out of the list. I love the Minotaurs, don't get me wrong, but not the way I want to play my army. I think Razor Gores, like multiple small units of Razor Gores, might be the better option. Strength 5, Toughness 5, D3 impact hits that do AP 1 or 2. I'm thinking that might be the better choice. We'll see. The Duke was a monster slayer. Literally killed every monster I had single-handedly without taking a wound for his trouble. The only wounds he took was when they fell on him or when I was able to throw something at him. Still, yeah, Bretonnian lords, man, don't turn your back on them. I can't believe how lucky I was with my opponents failing the leadership checks, the terror check, the men-at-arms. So many failed leadership checks. If it wasn't for that, this would have been a much different game. I don't think I would have won, but we'll never know. We'll never know because there's no redos. This is history now. This is canon. Still, though, solid first game. I learned a ton, and I'm thinking the Beastmen might be my new army for a while. Playing with the Hag Tree Fetish, having all the monsters on the table, even the Harpies. I loved how much the Harpies distracted his unit of Pegasus Knights. Really took him out of the game for the better part of the game, really. They got 99 points. That was really about it. I feel good about the army. I feel real good about the army. That could change in a game. I'm fickle as hell, but right now, I'm liking it. All right, so the Tithe of Bones. Yeah, this is just skulls for the Skull Throne because, Chaos Beastmen, baby. They're gonna have to give some up to they're gonna eat a lot of them, and then they're gonna give up the rest to the Chaos Gods because that's how we get our beastly powers. But this was a good one. I got another Duke, bringing my total up to 3. That felt right. Got my first Baron. Yeah, I know he ran off the table, but that counts. That counts. We caught up with him later, and we took our pound of flesh. Outstanding. Got another Demigod Sergeant at Arms. He did not get away. I don't care. That's canon. He's not getting away. And the Prophetess, she ran, but I'd like to believe she got caught. At the very minimum, a branch slapped her across the face, made her a little bit uglier. In core, I got 30 more men at arms, doubling my amount up to 60, which is excellent. I throw the Grail Monks in there just because they're a separate add-on and I just like to count them, so I doubled that as well. I got 17 more Peasant Bowmen, leaving 3 on the table, and I apologize for that, but 168 souls when it comes to Peasant Bowmen. That's a large village at this point. No Knights of the Realm on foot, but the ones that were mounted ran off the table, bringing my total up to 37, adding 10 to it. I don't care if they fled. It counts. We got them. Some part of them went to the Chaos Gods, damn it. In Special, I got 2 more of the 5 Pegasus Knights my opponent brought, bringing my total up to 24. And in Rare, I got all the Grail Knights with the Vile Tide of Doom, bringing my total up to 21. Really, really good game for the Beastmen, especially when it comes to body count. Nothing to add here. I just like looking at dead Wood Elves and unworthy Tomb Kings. Demons and Warriors are still solid numbers that I feel pretty good about. Haven't run into the Chaos Dwarves in a while. I'd like to run into those guys again and get those numbers up. Orcs and Goblins, anytime. Greenskins are a blast to fight. My Dark Elf and High Elf numbers are fermenting nicely. And while I haven't killed a lot of Beastmen, with a little luck, we'll be able to invade somebody else's territory and murder some more and add to these numbers soon. But that's going to do it for this one. Another battle report in the history books. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. But as always, thanks!